Tough learning. Yeah, Perikites, thank you for coming and making it possible. And have something to eat.
Yeah, sure.
So the Alter Rebbe, in the beginning of Perikites, the Alter Rebbe introduced that every Yid has an Ava Mesoteres, it's a Yerusha from the Ovis. The Alter Rebbe asked 4 shaylas. What's the shoyrish? What's the Indian? Yeah, how do we have it be Yerusha? So the Alter Rebbe continues. Teisef is biur. Teisef is biur about this Ava Mesoteres. What is its Indian? What's the Indian of this Ava that we have? He says, Tzarech Lavai Reita, we have to explain Mashakosov Meir Hashem Nishmas Odom. Pasuk says, yeah, Mishlei, that the neshama is compared to a candle. Oh, the neshama is compared to a candle. The poshet, the taich, the pirush ha-poshet of this pasuk, for us chassidim, the pirush ha-poshet is like a remez. Like we don't know the poshet, the taich. We know the chassidish taich. That the Eibusha says that after 120, the Eibusha is going to know everything that you did. How's he going to know? Because he has a spy, the neshama. He's the one that's going to tell the Eibusha the whole business. So Neir Hashem, Nishmas Adam, the neshama, that's the Neir Hashem. That's how Hashem gets to see everything. But Al Pi Chassidus, the neshama is compared to a candle. Here the Alter Rebbe speaks about it in a very basic way. Later on in Perek Lamed Hey, he takes it apart. A candle has a wick, an oil, and a fire. It's like all these elements. The Yanuka from the Zoyar. Pirush, She Yisrael Akruyim Odom, Nishma Yidden who are called Odom Al Shem Adam Ala Elyon, that were compared to the Eibishter. Nishma Samdi Ar Neshama is Lamashal Ke'eran Neir. In what way is it like Eiran Neir in this parak? That a Neir is Misnanei Atomid Lamayla Betiva. It's always reaching upwards. It's shuckling, it's Misnanea, it's shuckling, Lamayla. You take the candle, you turn it this way, that way, yeah, you put it upside down. The fire is always it gravitates upwards. Mipnei. Because the light, the fire is always like looking to separate itself, perikutes, from the beginning, to separate itself. It has a shorish, lamaylo. Here we are, we're just learning in the Rambam about the Dal Yesaidis within the last week. So it says that the Yesod Eish is not fire. Just like fire in a flintstone is not fire. So there's a Yesod Eish that's not Eish, that's Tachas Galdo Hayareach. And all fire gravitates towards that Shoirish Mishkosu Beitz Chaim. I think it's a mystery where it's in Eitz Chaim. But Azay Zok Alter Rebbe. Even though that this drawing upwards, the candle will go out if it separates from the wick. There won't be a fire, meaning when it separates from the psila, in the shoyrish it's not fire. There won't be any light. In its shoyrish, let's say it could unite with its shoyrish. It'll be bottled. Nevertheless, not that fire has a will. When we speak about will here, we mean it's a natural. The Eibishter built into Eish, a teva, a natural desire, even though it doesn't make any sense. And that's the Alter Rebbe here in the beginning of Perek Yutes is defining that there's an idea. When we use the word teva, what do we mean to say? The word teva means to say that there's an ingrained, inherent characteristic that it makes no sense, but that's it. It's in. He says, when you, from an evolutionary perspective, every time someone's talking about, humans, we're like this. Why are we like this? Because in order to evolve, we had to be like this. Chveis, why do we have flat feet? Because chveis. You know, we have eyebrows because of something else. Everything is an evolutionary. The Alter Rebbe says no. Teva, it's ein beginnes tamadas. It makes no sense. Kach nishmas ha'adam. The neshama, not only the neshama, v'chein beginnes ruach v'nefesh, even the lower parts of the neshama. Cheftza, v'cheshka, b'tiva. It has in it a yearning, a desire. Liparid velotzes min aguf. V'lidavik b'sharsho mekere b'Hashem chaya chayim baruch hu, to be one with Hashem. Whatever, some years ago here in the shul, one Shabbos, I asked everyone a question. How do you define a ruchni? How do you define ruchnius? So someone raised their hand, this one, that one. So the basic answer is anything that you can't take with your five senses. So love is something that you can't take with your five senses. So it's a ruchni. So at that time we were learning a sikha, and the Rebbe has a conversation about this, that's not really the definition of a ruchni. Non-gashmi is not the definition of a ruchni. A ruchni is something that's striving to become one with its source. In other words, it's aware of its source, and it's attracted, it's drawn. And that's what the Alter Rebbe is saying over here. The neshama, even the lowest parts of the neshama, he wants to be, he feels its origin, just like the malachim, they feel their origin, and they want to be one. Yeah.
So here in America, people don't say like literature of art can be ruchnius.
Literature.
So because you cannot touch it, you cannot sense it, but art, something like this. So in other countries, people build on this culture, but Rebbe's definition really gives a right answer, whatever connected to Hashem, because it's literature can be like piece of steak. It's geschmack, it's tasty, but it's not ruchnius. Even you cannot touch it.
When you say the word literature, what do you mean?
Tolstoy, Dostoevsky.
Oh, right. Okay. So to them, that's spiritual. You know, sometimes when people are very influenced by someone's a real influence, you want to stay with them. It's like you can't separate. You want to be very close. It's an Indian. Gestalt auf the fis, like you say someone that me'aveh gestalt auf the fis. Hagam, even though now, for the neshama to be dovuk in the Eibishter, b'shar shol makera, shetia ein v'efes, it'll become bottle. In its makir, in other words, the neshama, the way it is in this world, it's an independent entity, it has characteristics, it's mechaya guf. If it's been total dveikus in the Eibishter, it's going to be nothing. With this battle shom b'metzias lagamri. Right? It won't have any independent existence. Whatever formation of spheres, whatever makes it unique, will disappear. Nevertheless, that's what it wants. Teva, when we say the word teva, zehu shem hamushal. This is a borrowed word. The kol davar she'eni b'bchinas tam v'das, to anything that doesn't make sense. A person wants it. Why? Because it's a teva. The gam kan, that's the kavanah here. When we say that the neshama has a teva to be one with the Eibishter. She'rotzen v'chefetz zeh b'nefesh, this particular rotzen, eine b'bchinas tam v'das v'seichel musag u'muvan. It's not logical, it's not based on reason, and it's not understood. Elo, rather, it's l'mayla me'adas v'seichel ha'musag v'amuvan v'hi. This, what's the root for this teva? It's b'chinas chochma shebenefesh sheba elin seif baruch hu. In other words, like this. Every single ava is like the Alter Rebbe explains in Perek Lamed Hey, and that was understood before, there's an interest, there's a benefit. I love Hashem because it feels good. There's an advantage. All of that's bina-based ava, based on what we were speaking about last week. But because this ava is a teva that's rooted in chokhmah shebenefesh, chokhmah shebenefesh it's l'mayla mitam v'das. Here, the Alter Rebbe is coming from a different angle. In other words, chokhmah shebenefesh is, what's the truth? The truth is there's nothing. Hu levade hu ve'ein zolase. The truth is there's nothing else. There's only the Eibishter. So in chokhmah shebenefesh realizes that there's nothing, because it has absolute knowledge. Whatever could be known is known with clarity. So therefore, it's completely bottled to the Eibishter. So the Alter Rebbe, and in that Shabbat Malubish, in there is Shabbat Erin Sev Baruch Hu. The Alter Rebbe is, the next step of what happens in this perek, the Alter Rebbe explains that the nitzutz eliki that's in us, the neshama that we have in us, so the chokhmah, that's the core, right? And chokhmah is not a hamshacha. Chokhmah is, right? Chokhmah is, in other words, the neshama, the nitzutz eliki is in chokhmah shebenefesh. What does that mean? That I'm bottle. In the rest of the person, in the lower parts of the person, there's only an attempt at bittul. Whenever a person makes space for the Eibishter in any way, I want to sleep, I get up earlier. Whatever. Any time a person, so you're inviting, you're being mamshech. Now you can't say, I became completely bottled. I was so hungry. I was so thirsty. I had the water you can't imagine, and I stopped and I made a bracha. So mamish chokhmah shebenefesh. That's a hamshacha, right? What's klippah? Klippah is it's all about me, right? Me centered. What's the extreme of klippah? The extreme of klippah says, what does it say by Esav? By Esav, he says, I'm going to open my mouth and you pour in a lot. In other words, I don't even want to have to put it in my mouth. I don't even have I don't want to put a spoon in my, I have to pick up a spoon. It's too hard. I'm working too hard. I'm just going to and that's it. Klippah is the ultimate have haliteni. All I want, like he brings a mashal about the aluka. It's a bloodsucker. All it does, it sucks in more and more and more till it platzes, that's it, it's a leech. Klippah, right? What did we learn in the Maimer about the Orein in the Midbar? Right? What is a Midbar? Complete selfishness. Nothing grows. Why? Because I'm not giving you whatever water, whatever there is, I'm going to take. I'm keeping all the resources. So that represents Klippah b'taharasa. The Oren came, it made an overall bittul in the Midbar. You remember that? Anyway, so, right, that's the Inyan of the Masois, the Inyan of the Torah. So here, the Alter Rebbe presents this contrast. What is Kedusha? Not only in the Nefesh. What is Kedusha B'chlal? Kedusha is anything that's completely bottled to the Eibishter. Right? It's not projecting a personal mitzias. And here goes into a very interesting mashal that the Rebbe brings, the Rebbe speaks about it, that we all know, we speak about it, that if you feel part of your body, that means there's something wrong. Like you're not supposed to feel, right? You're not supposed to feel. If you feel your foot, that means there's something wrong. Right? When people get older, they start feeling things. You're not supposed to feel, you feel your teeth. What are you feeling your teeth? There's a problem. Meaning, The neshama gives your body chayus. Your body realizes, who am I? I'm the neshama. Without the neshama, I'm nothing. So I'm going to poke my nose in. I need someone to give me credit for something. I'm giving my whole credit, I'm giving to the neshama. So the body is completely bottled because it recognizes that the neshama is giving it chayus. But when the body starts, hey, by the way, I'm also here. So it's not bottled, or it's not as bottled. So it's a little klippedik already. It's starting to become, and that's what the Alter Rebbe is going to say, that's an edel form of misa. That's why klippe, yomusu v'loi b'chochma. Chochma is ultimate bittul. You don't feel anything. It's like a perfect marshal. You don't feel your mitzias, right? And going back to what we spoke about in last week's perek, and we also spoke about this bechlal, the difference between chochma and bina is objectivity and subjectivity. In other words, in bina, it's the way I understand it, my perspective, my context. Chochma is a person should be able to learn about an Indian purely in the world of seichel, if it's possible. That's why in Chochma we talk about Riyah. Because Riyah, the subject is teaching me. I'm just open to, I'm trying to be as quiet, as silenced as possible, just to allow me to hear. Bina, I have to fit it into my context. It's like, someone's telling me about AI, and I keep on thinking, how do I apply it in a school? Or how do I apply it in a house? I'm not quiet. I'm not listening. Chochmah is just purely, right? So in Bina, there's a little yeshes. In Chochmah, it's complete bittul. So all these pieces, this is the way the Alter Rebbe lines it up. That Chochmah shebenefesh, that is what Kedusha is. Complete bittul. I just want to repeat for a second this mashal that Rebbe brings, that the body, you don't feel your body unless you're sick. A healthy person, when everything works, you're not supposed to feel your teeth. Why? Because the body recognizes that the neshama is what's mechaya you. So I'm not a star here on the stage. I'm giving the neshama the full credit because it's his doing. When a person's not so bittled, he's a little sick, and then this starts. So it's a certain type of misa in an edel way, and that's what the Alter Rebbe is saying. Chochmah shebenefesh is like a perfectly healthy body. It has no. He has nothing to say. He's completely silent. He gives all the credit to the Eibishter. Bina is already the epis and agenda. He has something. So this Ava Mesuteres, that's why we also learned about this in Torah. The Ava Mesuteres, on one hand, I didn't work to earn it. It's built in, so it's lower. In other words, a person is misbeinen, and he develops, and he comes up, right? He's meilid, ava. Gewaldig, who could do it? You have to be a sachas beinenus, hours and hours. But on the other hand, the ava mesuteres is much deeper. The ava tivris is much deeper, because it's chokhmah, it's your essence. And that's where the Alter Rebbe is going to finish. He's going to take the perek, he's going to say, that's why when it comes to Mesiras, when someone challenges Avodah Zarah, basically there's two things happen to the person. The hispashtus of the neshama goes into goals. The neshama is machaya the whole guf. It's not the etzem neshama, it's a ha'ara of the neshama. The ha'ara of the neshama is machaya everything, even your toe. But what the nefesh abamis comes, and it takes over. So it's mamish and golus. Seid golus hashchina, the Alter Rebbe is going to explain. The etzem neshama that's in chokhmah can never be in golus. It's sleeping. What's the difference between sleeping and golus? Golus means someone else controls me. Sleeping is I went to sleep. I wake up by the koiches. I'm not in someone else's prison. And that's why the Alter Rebbe says when it comes to a matzav of pikuach nef, of Avodah Zarah, when someone touches you in your core, and the nefesh and the chochma shebenefesh wakes up, then mitamo, he's like a lion. You know, in the Shiur in Sefer Tanya, he brings over there a story that Chassidim used to say that there was a Jewish kid that was raised by a poritz, and at a certain point they were going to shmad him. His name was Fivish. Anyway, they were preparing a tekes. How do you say it in English? A ceremony. And then the kid, they gave him a suit, you know. Where are we going? Like, we're going to do a renaming. We're going to rename you. Yeah, he says, now you're Fivish. You're going to be Ivan, whatever. He says, what's up? It's like, because Fivish, he had a Jewish name. But and this kid, he didn't know anything, he didn't remember anything. He says, "What's this? I'm Fivish. I'm not going to be Ivan." Anyway, they tortured him, whatever it was, and they killed him. And it was such a tumult in the shtat, and all the people knew. In other words, for all the years that the townspeople knew what happened, they were saying, "You see this kid? He's a Jew, and he's a Rasha Merusha. Look, and he ate chazer, and he grew up like this, and he grew up like that." And then with Amol, this story, it's like Gibakuk. That's a manishama. So let's take a look. V'hine, v'hi b'chinas chachma shebenefesh, sheba erein sev baruch hu. You see, he doesn't say that sheba meir, like, in chachma shebenefesh is a kli mamish to elikus. V'zel kol says the Alter Rebbe b'chol sitra de kedusha. Not only is it in the chachma shebenefesh of the neshama, but that's the whole kedusha. What is kedusha? She'einei ela masher nimshach mechachma. True kedusha is anything that's influenced, impacted by chachma. Meaning that there's only the Eibishter. This real truth. Shenikra, chachma is called Kodesh Ha'elyon, Chachma D'Atzilus. Chachma D'Atzilus, it says that the whole Atzilus really is, Chachma D'Atzilus owns the whole Atzilus. Right? You have a team. There's one player, he really dominates the whole team. Chachma D'Atzilus really dominates the whole Atzilus. Habaful b'mitzias b'erein seif baruch hu amalubish b'ei. Chachma D'Atzilus is completely bottled. It's completely objective. It has no agenda. It's not trying to put context. It's not saying, oh, there's an Eibishter, let me see what it's like. Just like we could plant a seed and something will grow. Oh, the Eibishter created Yesh Me'ayin. There's no muscle by Chachma D'Atzilus. It's the way it is. It's not second generation, you know. That's why Chachma Shebenefesh is called Keachma, meaning it's completely bottled. It's not a thing. It's not its own metzius. It says the Alter Rebbe, and this Keach, Vehu Heipech Mamash Mebchinis HaKlippe V'Sidra Achre. This is the diametrical opposite of the paradox of Klippe. Shemimeno, from Klippe, the Foshis of Musoilam, that's where the Foshis of the nations, the Avdin Lagar Mayu, even when they do a noble act, there's an ulterior motive. For Amrim, they say, Hav, V'haliteni, give me, feed me. I'm going to open my mouth, feed me. I want to mention over here that two things. You know, Chasidei Umis Ha'olam have their own path. We're not talking here about Chasidei Umis Ha'olam. And very strange. When I was preparing and learning the parak, I don't remember where I heard this, who was giving the shir, this particular thing. Said that there's a psamaisa by Chassidim that one of the Greek philosophers, when he passed away, he was Meser Nefesh. I don't think it was Aristotle. I don't know. Huh? You know what? Whatever. One of the so they killed him. So imagine they have like a story post mortem. What happened? He came up Lamaila and he said to the Eibishter, give me schar like Avram Avinu. So was heißt? Avram Avinu and Ur Kasdim. He only wanted to be Meser Nefesh. I was B'Poel. So Mege'emfet in Bezdin Shalmaila that by Avram Avinu it was for the Eibishter. By you it was for you. It was for your sake. In other words, it could be that a person could even be Meser Nefesh, but to further his, you have a person, he believes so much in the country, I believe so much in democracy and freedom, and I'm going to go fight for it, even if I have to give my life up. But I believe in it. Ad kedei kach. It means so much to me. So the Alter Rebbe says, there's avdin legar mayu, that's when they're doing a noble act. And in the lower form, amrin hav. They say, I'm only here to take. Right? And then, v'haliteni, I'm not even going to feed myself. I'm going to open my mouth, you're going to put it inside. And this is a difficult thing. It's we have to remember, for me, this is, we have to remember what the Baal Shem Tov said, that whenever we see a chassaron in another person, it's a chassaron in ourselves. I'm on camera, so I have to disguise any comments that I make about real people. So anyway, I asked someone today to make space for his brother. It's like you walk on the train and a guy is sitting and he has his bags on the, He's like, I'm sorry, I can't make it's not happening. Akoponim. Ich habe ein Spashtus, ich habe ein Metzies, ich rede wegen sich. Akoponim. So to be yesh v'dover b'fnei atzmei kanal, to be a Metzies. And that's mamish heipech bechinas ha'chochma. That's, that's why Kalippa is referred to Mason. That's why the Shoyim are Kriyim Mason. Chochma techaya. Chochma. What's the Tanya Chochma techaya?
The wise. Huh?
Yeah. HaChochma techaya. It's a funny nikud. In other words, real chokhmah, real life is from chokhmah. A life of bittul, real life, that the neshama is being machaya you, that's in chokhmah. And yomusu v'lei b'chokhmah, like that example that a person is alive and his body doesn't complain. His body doesn't let him know, my feet and my head and my teeth and whatever else. Yeah. It also goes back to this point about what is a davar ruchni, right? What is chayas, that is nimshach to what's above him. V'chein. So there's klippe. So klippe yamusu v'lei b'chachma. Klippe is missing. V'chein arishoyim u'peishi Yisrael. So he mentioned the fashos u'mesa'ilam. And the Alter Rebbe continues rishoyim kedem shebol lidei nisayin l'kadosh Hashem. Before they're tested, they get their chayas from klippe. Why? Ki bechinas ha'chachma shebenefesh u'alikis. Because the pintle of their neshama, im nitzutz alikus me'er ein seif baruch ha'amalubish ba, heim b'bchinas golus begufam. So in the guf, in other words, in the espashtos in the guf, in their hands, in their feet, in their keiches apnimium, in their mind, in their heart, they're in golus, b'nefesh ha'bamis, mitzad ha'klipish ha'bachol ha'asmalish b'lev, ha'meileches, Umeishelis, which controls their guf, besed Golos Hashchina canal. Just like the Eibishter went into the Golos Hashchina, that other people control what happens to the Chayis Aliki. Therefore, the Alter Rebbe is coming back to Perek Yud Ches. That's why Nikras Avazu, the Nefesh Aliki, this Ava. Is called Ava Misuteres. Misuteres means that it's covered up by something. Not only that it's dormant. It's not dormant, it's covered. It's Misuteres. Ki hi Misuteres u'mechusa bilvush sak de klipa v'peish Yisrael. It's covered up in sackcloth. Umimena, from the levush sak, from this garment that covers it up, nichnas bahem ruach shtus lachtoi. K'mayim merazal eidan b'chet chulu unless Elohim came nichnas beruach shtus. So there's a golus. Elo, says the Alter Rebbe, but you have to understand that golus has a lebchinas chachma. Eine elo lebchina mispashetas mimenu. It's only to its ispashtus benefesh kula lachyesa. The part of the neshama that's giving life to the whole body. Aval sheirish v'ikir shal bechinas chachma shal benefesh alikisu b'meichin. The core of the neshama is in the meichin. Ve'eina mislabesh b'vur sak the klipish v'lo chalas man v'los mamash. It doesn't really get covered up. Rak shehi b'chinas sheina. It's asleep. Ve'eina payelas peulasa bahem. It's not activated. Calls man she'asukim bedaitam binasam betavis oilam. As long as they're consumed, they're busy with tavis, so it's dormant. However, when they come to a test, when they're touched higher than seichel, when they're touched in the darga of Chochmah Shebenefesh, Shehi L'mayla Me'adas, when they're touched in the inyan of Amunah, and then V'noga is a chepet, it's a rirton, Ada Nefesh. It's a rirton L'bchinas Chochmah Sheba, to the core. Azai Hi Me'ura Mishinasa, wakes up. And when it wakes up, it's as if it's in full force, complete power. Complete potency. It does whatever it needs to do. The Alter Rebbe is going to say that not only will the person, in other words, you have to understand, not only is he not Eved Aved Zara, suddenly all taivis become like nothing.
Even his life is ready to give up.
Right, but he say his life and all, suddenly he's Mayas Berah. Right? So,
Yes, Middle Hoop was going to do the same with Nefesh, right? They can sacrifice one. The difference is because if they don't share ideas, they will not do it.
if they don't share ideas,
Yeah. If I disagree with this idea, I'm not going to sacrifice. Even he did not show any attachment to Yiddishkeit, and they put him in front.
and then suddenly, in other words, by a goy, it's someone that, okay. So here he says a different, okay. Yeah. In other words, I don't want to bring like it's like, I'd imagine a person's eating a geschmacke taive, meat, I don't know.
Sushi.
Then somebody walks in and somebody says, the meat is treif.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you could see people have a disgusting reaction.
It was too.
Right? In other words, it's like it touched a certain point and suddenly, right? It's like, whatever. And there are other dugmois where such things happen. It's like a person, whatever it is. Yeah, and akuponim. You know, the Maisa in the Gemara says when it tells the story about the Churban Beis HaMikdash, So it speaks about Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadel's children. Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol, he had a son and he had a daughter. They were sold as slaves. They were very beautiful. To two different people. Anyway, one day the two different people, they met. He said, I have a very beautiful slave. He said, I have a very beautiful servant. Let's put them together. We'll have beautiful... Anyway, they put both of them into a room. It was night. And one stood on one side, one stood on the other side. And the Gemara says, he said, I'm the son of the Kohen Gadol. And then she's saying, I'm the daughter of the Kohen Gadol. And then, right? And then they came together and they passed, like in the morning, they saw each other and Yotza Nafsham. It's an incredible story. Right? So in other words, that suddenly there becomes a realization, right? And everything changes. Let's see how the Alter Rebbe says it. He says, in the person, Lamed bin Esoyim be'emunas Hashem, beli shum tam v'das. It's not a Havana. It's not a seichel musagloi that he understands. And lizgab et ala klippis, suddenly he overcomes temptation. V'tayves elam mahaze, beheter u be'isur, shehurgal bahem, even things that he's used to. And mitamov v'limis bahem, suddenly it becomes disgusting. And the livcher le havaya le chelke le geirole, that he chooses the Eibishter no matter what. Limser le nafshe HaKadosh Hashmei. And he says, this is the line that you were saying from Reb Mendel. This line. Ve'av ki haklipis govru alav kol yomov. His whole life he's doing something else. Ve'lo yochel lahem. Kamay merazal, she'shoy mehem mishuz libo. But Nikomake, remember what Alter Rebbe explained. Because they have two parts. You have the essence of the neshama that's in Chochmah Shebenefesh. That's the asleep part. Then you have the part that's in the guf, in the keiches, the hamshacha. Over there's a kolos hashchina. So Kshabala din Yisoyim v'davar emunah b'avaya chad she'yisei dasa b'hararei kodesh, which is rooted in Bechinas Chochmah Shebenefesh Olikis Shabam Malubish Eden Say Baruch Hu Harei Kol HaKlippis Betelim Umvotalim. Nothing has a candle. Lagabi, there's no koyach. V'hoyu keloi hoyu mamash lifnei Hashem. They completely disappear. They're like ayin v'efes. Kediksiv, the Alter Rebbe brings 4 psukim corresponding to the 4 klippis. That kol hagoyim ke'ayin negdei v'gemer. They're like nothing. In other words, no taiva, no area, no compromise. Oksiv ki hine yevecha Hashem. They fall apart, they crumble, they break apart. It's to a lesser degree, that they melt like wax before fire. Like kings or whatever, like these characteristics of the klipper, they melt like from the kedusha. Now the Alter Rebbe says further, not only will you not change your faith, your belief, your thinking, your heart, but you won't even be ready to do an action that's out external. You just say after me, was hart is there, what do you care? Say that you're Makabal, a different God. No, b'shum eifin. Even an action that you don't care about, you won't do. He has such power. They can't even touch his machshava dibur u'maisa. Of course, not the way he believes, his faith in his heart. What does that mean? Lamid bin esoyin limser nafshe. Afilu shleilas is like is a ma'isa lavad negas munas havaya echad. Even a little thing in the shachvas laved zora, like in the story of Chana. Let's make it look like it. Afshein ma'imim bakal believe, even though he doesn't believe. V'chein, so too shalei ledaber te'achas v'sholem, not to speak estranged things al achtos Hashem. Afshein piveli v'shovin, even though in his heart, like the Alter Rebbe. And they interrogated him. He could have said he's not shaykh to the Baal Shem Tov. But even the Dibur, for 1 minute, He didn't want to, dissociate himself. So Rak Libi Sholim Mamunas Hashem, even if in his heart is Yiras Hashem, he's not going to play such a trick. This also goes into the Igeres of the Rambam, Igeres Hashmad, that the Rambam writes that the Maranos, that the faith that they were converting to, in other words, they also believe in one Eibishter. That's why.
It wasn't so bad.
Whatever, it's gelernt, it's animal.
No, he actually said against rabbis who said you cannot do this.
No, right. Yeah, in other words, those who said that because of what they did, they're not Jewish anymore. You can't count them to a minion and this, whatever. Akoponim, but it's a side thing. Yeah, and this, says the Alter Rebbe, this determination not to even do a Maisa Kala, Neged Avodah Zarah, that's the Yira that's included in the Ava. Because that was one of the questions in Perek Yud Ches. If it's Ava Mesuteres, where's Yiras Hashem included? He says, that's the Chilu HaNichlal Berechimu. That's the Zeh, this is the Yira in the Ava. What's the Ava? Tivis Shebenefesh Alikish Shebekolos Yisrael. Every Yid wants naturally to be one with the Eibishter. Because of this Ava, he doesn't want to go against Chas v'Shalom. The Rebbe brings Biktsei Tumas, not even, right? Hava mina, not even a trace. She neged emuna savaya echad, and it's afilu even bilavusha hachitzonim, even with a pinky. She dibur emaisa beli emuna belev klal. Even if he doesn't believe it, but just to do, he won't do. It's very careful. We went over. It's the first time in a long time. I apologize. We also started late.